wildfire continues to spread in southern and northern Africa. The number of countries enduring high temperatures in the middle of the seasonal heat wave increases as the death toll due to the fires raises to over 40. In Russia, the second Russia-Africa summit is underway, aimed at enhancing economic cooperation and counteract Western hostile policies. And also, Niger's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hazumi Massoudou, stepped in as interim president after a coup d'etat by the army. Hello from the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. Ecuador's Esmeraldas province suspends school activities and militarizes security as violence hits the region. After the intense day of violence perpetrated on Tuesday in several sectors, the Provincial Security Committee decided to adopt measures to maintain the order and confront the insecurity that has been affecting the population. And on Thursday, the Argentine presidential pre-candidate of Unión por la Patria party, Juan Grabois, led an act together with the former president of Bolivia, Evo Morales, at the School of Dentistry of the Buenos Aires University. During the event, they talked about strategic resources for the region and Argentina's electoral context, as the South American nation will hold its primary elections. In Argentina, indigenous communities of Jujuy go to the capital of the country to demand the repeal of the reform to the provincial constitution, which endorses the pillage of its ancestral territories and criminalizes the protest. Our correspondent, Joaquin Brandt, with details in the following report.
With the first rays of the sun, the communities performed a ceremony to ask the ancestors and the Pachamama to accompany the brothers who began their path to Buenos Aires. From La Cuica in the extreme north of Argentina, the third Malón de la Paz started a march combining journeys on foot and by car to reach the federal capital.
We do not kneel anymore. They are simple usurpers. We are the owners, and with that pride we are going to walk.
Upon arriving in Purmamarca, the indigenous communities carry out an act in which they reaffirm their claims. They will ask the Supreme Court of Justice to rule the nullity of the amendment to the provincial Magna Carta imposed by the governor of Jujuy and a pre-candidate for the vice president, Gerardo Morales. They also affirm that they will address the legislative branch. The National Congress approves a federal intervention law for Jujuy, and that the National Congress approves a community property law for the indigenous peoples of Argentina. They further highlight that the intermittent roadblocks and peaceful camps will continue throughout the provincial territory despite the persecution and criminalization of the protests.
We are already tired of waiting for these serene people who every day make us fight the poor against the poor.
Brothers who stay in permanence who have the same value as the brothers who are going to march to Buenos Aires. All with one heart and the same objective, brothers, united like the fingers of the hand. At the late afternoon, unions, social and human rights movement that make up the multi-sector against reform received the third La Paz raid in San Salvador de Jujuy. They are expected to arrive in Buenos Aires on August 1st, Mother Earth Day.
Joaquín Brandt, TeleSUR, Jujuy, Argentina.
Now we move on to other topics. In Chile, the Humedales de Tolten Cultural Fair, which took place at the La Moneda Cultural Center, concluded. The event, that began on Saturday, July 22nd, featured a wide variety of cultural activities of the Araucania. Among the handicrafts that were offered during the exhibition were textiles in different techniques, with materials such as sheep wool, felt, and other vegetable fibers, basketry in pita, leather woods, among many other varieties. On Wednesday, Cuba commemorated the 70th anniversary of the assault on the Moncada and Carlos Manuel de Céspedes barracks, led by Fidel Castro, with the aim of overthrowing the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. With the presence of Army General Raúl Castro Ruz, the leader of the Cuban Revolution, and the first secretary of the Central Committee of the party and President of the Republic, Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez, the central act for the 70th anniversary of the assault on the Moncada and Carlos Manuel de Céspedes barracks began. In the meantime, the Cuban president pointed out that the assault on the Moncada was the beginning of the Cuban uprising against U.S. imperialism.
The actions of July 26, 1953 were the beginning of the end of the last dictatorship installed in Cuba with the moral and material support of the United States. For that reason, they don't forgive the revolution. For that reason, and because they thought that with the physical disappearance of the historical generation, they could break the national independence, the international solidarity, the defense of the socialist alternative to the savage capitalism.
And the Cuban president also pointed out that the policy of sanctions and blockade implemented by Washington against the island is a consequence of the Cuban emancipation in pursuit of a socialist project.
More aggressive and intolerant they have shown themselves to be by constantly asserting that there is no force in the world that can make us renounce those principles, that can make us renounce those Marxist but also Marti and Fidelista ideals that inspire the tireless struggle for the greatest possible social justice. This explains the severity of the economic blockade and the current validity of the reinforcement measures maintained by the government of Donald Trump and the escalation of the blockade.
And in Cuba, the exhibition Space Anarchy by Spanish photographer Ángel Marcos was inaugurated. The exhibition is being held at the National Museum of Fine Arts in the Cuban capital and is made up of unpublished photographs, video projections, and installations. During the inauguration, the artist pointed out that his discourse is purely contemporary and practical, as he intends to make it look like a journalistic record of what is going on. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find the news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. The wave of fires raging in the countries of the Mediterranean region has already claimed 40 lives and caused millions in losses. The fire has destroyed homes, nature reserves, tourist properties, and in cases such as Greece, Italy, and Croatia, it has caused damages worth millions of dollars to the tourism industry. The flames are spreading in Croatia, Italy, and Portugal. Greece and Algeria have recently managed to bring the fire under control, but it is still active in many places in which the drought and the high temperatures make it difficult to alleviate. The European Union, given the seriousness of the situation, has extended support. Spain, Italy, Greece, Croatia, Algeria, Portugal, and Tunisia are among those most affected by the third heat wave. In Algeria, fires have left at least 34 people dead in the northern region of the African country. According to local reports, most of the blazes, which started on Sunday, have now been put out. However, the horrors of the past few days around the most affected region are now emerging. Among those killed in hard-hit Bejaya were 10 soldiers encircled by flames during an evacuation, the Defense Ministry reported Monday night. In 2023, the El Niño weather pattern has brought extreme heat to many countries in the Northern Hemisphere, including Japan. For the past 8 consecutive days, Tokyo residents have endured temperatures above 35 degrees Celsius, setting a new record for the month of July. On Tuesday, in some parts of Tokyo, temperatures were slightly above 38 degrees Celsius. We move on to other topics. On Thursday, the second Russia-Africa summit has opened. President Vladimir Putin will describe the state and prospects of relations between his country and the continent in a number of areas in his opening address. This second edition resumes the exercise launched in 2019 with the aim of developing a global dialogue and consolidating a platform for cooperation. 49 delegations from African states and regional and sub-regional integration associations, such as the African Union, will be present. The summit is expected to adopt an action plan on priority areas of cooperation. A humanitarian economic forum will also be held, where it is expected proposals will emerge to improve the distribution of grain and fertilizers from Russia to the African countries. After meeting with the head of the new development bank, Dilma Rousseff, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, assured that the BRICS countries did not conspire against anyone and work for mutual interests. The Russian president pointed out that although Rousseff has a great experience, it will not be easy for her to fulfill her functions due to the fact that in the world context, the dollar is used as an instrument for political struggles.
Between our countries, the BRICS countries, relations are developing in international currencies, payments are being made, and in this connection, it seems to me that the bank can also play a significant role in the development of our joint activities.
I would also like to welcome the Russia-Africa Summit initiative because we all know that often these countries are left without the necessary resources, and everyone focuses on the issue on their debt, ignoring the need for resources that is observed there. And it seems unacceptable to me to impose some kind of conditions and requirements in exchange for funding, as is done now by international organizations.
On Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin met with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on the sidelines of the Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg. Putin has described the two-day summit that opens on Thursday in St. Petersburg as a major event that will help bolster ties with a continent of 1.3 billion people that is increasingly assertive on the global stage. And also on Wednesday, the Russian President Vladimir Putin held talks with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed ahead of the Russia-Africa Summit. During the meeting, Putin said Russia will more than triple the number of Ethiopian students it hosts and cover their education costs. And on Wednesday, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that all Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Orkinev were repelled, adding that Russian troops progressed in the direction of Liman, reporting an advance of up to 2 kilometers.
On the morning of July 26th, the enemy resumed intensive offensive operation in the direction of Orkiv and conducted a massive attack by the forces of 3 battalions reinforced with tanks. The courageous and professional actions of the 1810th Marine Brigade and the 71st Motorized Rifle Regiment of the 42nd Motorized Rifle Division repelled all attacks of the armed forces of Ukraine. Positions were held. In the Lyman direction, units of the 15th Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Center Group of Troops continued offensive operations in the area of the settlement of Sergivka of the Luhansk People's Republic. The advance amounted to up to 3 kilometers along the front and 2,700 meters deep into the enemy defenses.
And TeleSUR English launches its own videos on demand site for you to go and revisit our interviews, the top stories, the special broadcastings, and more. Just go to the top left corner in our website homepage and click on the video option to access our VOD platform. And now we will have a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Niger's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hassoumi Massoudou, assumed on Thursday the representation of the country as interim head of government and reaffirmed his rejection of the coup d'etat. As soon as Massoudou made public the announcement, he reiterated that what happened in the African nation has been a violent coup d'etat, qualifying the action of the military as an act of factions, improper of those who have a commitment with the nation. Likewise, he called to avoid violent actions and asked the Democrats of the country to support the overthrown government. Minutes later, the deposed President Mohamed Bazoum assured through his Twitter account that democracy will prevail. And this happened after, on Wednesday, military announced a coup d'etat in Niger. The announcement came hours after it became known that the country's president was being held at the presidential palace by the guards. A group of military officers announced on Wednesday during a speech on local television that a coup d'etat has been carried out.
This day, July 26, 2023, we, the Defense and Security Forces, under the National Committee for the Salvation of the People, have decided to put an end to the regime you know. This follows the declaration made in view of the security situation and poor economic and social governance. We reaffirm our commitment to respecting all the commitments made by Niger. We assure the national and international community that the physical and moral integrity of the deposed authorities will be respected, in accordance with the principles of human rights.
The United Nations spokesperson said on Wednesday that the Secretary General condemned any attempt to seize power by force and called on all the actors involved to exercise restraint and ensure the protection of the constitutional order.
The Secretary General is following closely the situation in Niger. He condemns in the strongest terms any efforts to seize power by force and to undermine democratic governance, peace, and stability in Niger. The Secretary General calls on all actors involved to exercise restraint and ensure the protection of constitutional order. The United Nations stands by the government and people of Niger.
And in Nigeria, the National Association of Resident Doctors, the NARD, has directed its members to embark on an indefinite strike beginning on Wednesday, July 26. This development is coming less than 48 hours after the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, pled with doctors for understanding and pledged the new administration commitment to addressing their concerns. And Ghana's parliament voted to abolish the death penalty, making the country the latest of several African nations to abolish capital punishment in recent years. No one has been executed in Ghana since 1993, although 176 people were on death row as of last year, according to the Ghana Prisons Service. In Turkey, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan received China's top diplomat and newly appointed Foreign Minister Wang Yi at the Presidential Palace in Ankara. The director of the Office of the Foreign Affairs Commission of the Communist Party of China is on a one-day visit in which both sides will address bilateral relations, as well as international and regional issues of common concern. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.